Be'ezrat Hashem. So in last shiur, we explained and spoke about the definition of Yishakeni, the concept of neshika, of a kiss. And we explained that it is interesting to see the level of connection, Shlomo HaMelech, or the nefesh with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the neshama, right? Or Knesset Israel with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The level of connection that they're craving and that they're looking to accomplish, which is a level of neshika, of a kiss, right? And we explained what the definition of a kiss is, versus just, missing someone and wanting a level of connection. And we asked a question, and we said, okay, so after we understand what Yishakeni means, i.e. go back to last year, okay, if you want more in detail. Then he says, Min neshikot pihu. Amen. Neshikot pihu, from the kisses, and then of pihu, of his mouth, and then we had a problem with pihu. Why? Because we said in the normal Hebrew, or it's piv, his mouth, or it's piha, her mouth, right? But it's definitely not pihu. Hi, Kenny. Hi, Tzadik. So good to see you.
Hi, Kenny.
Nice haircut.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said nice haircut.
Thank you.
Hey, Kenny.
What's doing? Thank you.
So we need to understand what the word, first of all, two things. Number one, neshikot. Why do we want kisses? Yishakeni min neshika, from a kiss. So already you request the highest level of connection. And we brought the Malbim, right? That there's two ways of connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is the one through the knowledge and the discovery program or the discovery journey the person is in to connect to different sources of knowledge that he can connect to. And through that information, he builds up a puzzle. Boker Tov, Andy. We just started. Okay.
Sorry, Mechila. I thought it wasn't
No. We're just trying to recap quickly the Yishakeni. So one level of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the knowledge and how you build the puzzle together, but you actually don't have a connection, right? You're just identifying who Hashem, trying to identify who Hashem is. And then you have the higher level of connection is when you're in such an awe and so much love of the chokhmah of the Torah, of the wisdom of the Torah, the depth of the Torah. You're so in awe and so in love with it that you're willing to sacrifice things that are holding you from keeping on growing. And that dedication is what triggers the opening of a pipeline of shefa, of abundance, of light of Hashem, of connection to Hashem, that basically gives the person the feeling of a high, as if not better or more deeper and more real than the kiss, the first kiss of two lovers.
Rob, just on that note, do you think this concept applies to almost any problem or conflict that somebody has where there's a line that once you cross that line in terms of desire and awe towards one of them, as an example, it could be a drug addict, it could be, somebody who is unfaithful in his marriage, where if you tip the scales towards love of the thing that you're trying to go to, that other side kind of goes away in terms of it being a conflict?
I don't understand what you asked, Mechila.
It sounds like what we're saying here with Hashem, which is, you know, if once you become so much awe of the Torah, it's almost obvious that you do everything, right? And you love Hashem and you do all of his mitzvot. Is that correct?
Correct. When you're able to reach a level of awe and of love, of that abundance of knowledge and that abundance of emet, right? So it's
right.
it's an intellectual overwhelming that triggers an emotional high.
Right.
That high can all be a moment in time, and that's usually what happens when you go to an inspirational speaker. You know, there's guys that speak and you have like 500 people and they speak beautifully, okay? And the guy comes out, he's like, wow, what a shiur, amazing, okay? And then 2 minutes later, go back to Lashon Hara, go back to nonsense, okay, let's go back to Nobu, and let's go back to Cipriani, and let's go back to and really nothing happened, right? It was just a beautiful moment. It appeases the conscience, if we are being very honest, that, you know, we check the box, that I was in a great shiur, I did my part for God, let me go back to my routine, right? That's one example of a high, of a moment in time. From what? From a feeling of awesomeness when a person is exposed to the emet. That's one thing. And then you have a complete different level. You have, which the Rambam brings, and he says that when a person in Moreh Nevuchim is struck by the light of the truth, he is in such a high, spiritual high, that he begs to leave this world just so that he can continue to benefit from that emet forever.
Good.
1 second,
So,
I didn't finish.
Sorry.
Sorry. This is according to the Rambam, the definition, the second connection, the Ishakeni, the Neshika of Hashem. Now, the Ari HaKadosh has a problem with that because he says, if you learn in Torah, right, and you grow in Torah, and then you get to a place where you don't want to be in this world anymore, you're suffering, right? So the Torah is supposed to elevate you, not supposed to make you suffer. So the Ari HaKadosh explains that the Rambam basically wanted to address the experience a person can have or should have when he's exposed to an abundance of truth of the Torah. However, when a person realizes that on this world, every action he does, every word he says, every impact he has a direct opportunity, a direct impact on the Olam Haba, and basically widens the pipeline of emet or the connection with Hashem in Olam Haba. The person at that point realizes that he doesn't want to leave this world, because the more he learns, the more emet he will be exposed to, right? So what the Rambam spoke is about the definition of what a man should be experiencing when he's exposed to the emet. Continues the Ari HaKadosh, is that when a person understands that and benefits from it, he utilizes it properly, he doesn't want to live this world anymore, because he wants this high all the time. And he wants to, and he knows that the more he builds of this high, the more he will get of this high in Olam Haba. What is Olam Haba? At the end of the day, we explained it a few times. The Olam Haba is everything, all the mitzvot, all the highs, all the connections you've created in this world, okay? that you get in the Olam Haba that stays with you forever. So you have a high of, you do a mitzvah, and you're on a super high, and you went and you struggled and you helped, but you did something fantastic. That high, imagine, stays with you forever in Olam Haba. Now compound it with number one, the stop of interference of the body, because as high as you get, the body has an interferes, right, with that spiritual high. So take away the interference of the body, okay? Add all the different highs that you have throughout your life when you do a good action, when you're connected, okay? And put all this together and put it forever. This is Olam Haba. So when a person understands that, he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to stay here as long as he can, right? If you're in an island and you go and you try to get, we send you to an island and say, okay, you have one day. You can, there's a lot of jewels on that island. Do whatever you want. You have 24 hours and then the boat comes back and you have to jump back on the boat. What are you going to do? You're not going to sleep. You're not going to sleep. You go and you see diamonds, you see gold, you see rubies, you see all these crazy things. You go try to take as much as you can, right? You fill up all the bags, all the things, just you try to take as much as you can because the boat is going back in 24 hours, and in 24 hours, Habibi, what you didn't take will never come. This is this world. This is it. So, but the only way to be able to feel this, and be exposed to a behavior like that is if the person is struck by the awesomeness of the light of Emet. This is Neshika. Please, Stephen, you had a question. Sorry, Mechila.
I just wanted to say, when Mashiach comes, we experience the same feeling, right? Where our body wants to disconnect from our soul because of how...
Correct. But to the level of the infusion of Neshama, you allowed yourself. You did. Yes. Stanley.
May I ask, Rabbi, if I may, why did you get depressed when you or shocked, you said, when you found out that there were two ways?
I'll tell you why. Very good question. Because when a person is exposed or wants to be on the journey to connect to Hashem, okay, all you have in front of you is the Torah and the mitzvot. According to the Malbim, the dry knowledge of Torah and application of mitzvot is only the first way to connect to Hashem, right? So you're in the dark and you see some sparks of light and you try to follow that light. You try to follow it, hoping that you're going to get somewhere where it's all light. But it's very challenging, very, very challenging. And this is 99.9% of how people live their Judaism. Because they have sparks of light. Tefillin, talit, tzitzit, brit milah, a shiur, Shabbat, Rosh Hashanah, matzah, lulav. It sparks. And here a little knowledge, and here another little knowledge. But there's nothing that the person doesn't go and take all that information to identify who Borei Olam is. Who gives, okay, or takes the time, or gives shiur to compile all this information as an identity of who Borei Olam is. Everybody zooms into what? Emunah, bitachon, lashon hara, mitzvat Shabbat, anachat tefillin, kippah, kedusha. Okay, it's sparks. And every spark is beautiful in its own ecosystem, right? But when you understand that all this needs to be brought together. And this is the tremendous hard part, is when you can take all this puzzle and put it together, have the awareness to put it together, find the way how everything connects in order to have in front of you through your own actions, Hashem as one, Hashem Echad, right? That at the end of the day, everything is Echad. It's a complete different avodah. So, and when for me, and many years ago, but when I was exposed, you know, when you learn Torah, when you grow, you just want to absorb, right? You want to absorb, you want to do more, you want to accomplish more. But for what purpose? My Rav, Tzaddik Kadosh Livracha, Moshe Shapira. He sent me on a, yeah, I know. I'm looking at Andy, but anyways, Andy knew him. Andy knew him. He sent me on a journey. I speak about him, I have tears. That's how much I loved him. The only time I felt I mourned in my life until today is when I lost my Rav. Anyways, so one time I told him that, you know, I was going back and forth in America. And he told me, why you go back and forth so much? You go to Argentina, you go Brazil, why? I said, you know, people, they need kiruv, I do chizuk, I do kabbalat ka'al, I see people, I give them advice. So he said, but you have the yeshiva where you are, 7,000 people, 5,000 crazy ones that don't know what they're doing. Instead of going all over the world, you have 5,000 people in front of you that you can help. I said, what are you talking about? Talmidei Chachamim, all they do, Torah Talmud Mutam, all they do is sit down and learn. So he told me, start doing Kabbalat Kal in the yeshiva, in Yeshivat Mir. So I started doing it, and Chaz v'Shalom, I just want to make it very clear. When he said crazy people, Chaz v'Shalom, they didn't mean like by crazy, but if you're going to give chizuk, you can give chizuk to these people. Why do you have to go on the other side of the planet to give chizuk when people need you here? Okay. And I started doing it, and I realized that a lot of people are as religious as it gets, as engaged as it gets in Torah and mitzvot. You ask them why. They have no idea. They have no idea. Who are you doing that for? Okay, where is Borei Olam? Okay, you learn all day Gemara. You write Shurim. Okay, but where is Hashem in your life? And most of the time, the guy didn't have an answer. This is the answer, Andy. And this is the second, this is the neshika. When we understand that we have the ability and an obligation to gather all our experiences and knowledge in Torah and implement it in our relationship with Hashem to create a real intimate identity, then we are blessed with the neshika. Until then, it's not neshikot. It's not. It's just not. And this is why a lot of people struggle with their Yetzer Hara. They could be very religious. I was on the phone. I was I was doing Kabbalat Kal 2 days ago, and somebody came on for the session. If you see him walk on the street, you kiss his hand. The way he looks. Be'emunah shlema, you kiss his hand. Maleh hadaro, beer, pay, sit outside. And we start talking, and he calls me for business. He's calling me to ask me for business advice. And he starts talking about the business advice. I said, stop. I said, before you talk about business, let's talk about you for a second. You're focusing on the wrong thing, because your challenge in business today is only a reflection of your actions. So let's go back for a second and let's talk about you. And I started zooming in and talking about his behavior. The guy started crying, but crying, bawling on the screen. Why? because he, on one hand, he portrays a certain behavior, a certain lifestyle. On the other, he's so far from Hashem, so far from having Hashem in his life. You understand? So this is the jewel. This is the jewel that the Malbim gives us when he brings in perspective the definition of Neshika. And think about it. How much actions in Torah, how much mitzvot we do, and we have no way, we don't even think of how do I plug this in my relationship with Hashem. How does that become my interaction with Hashem? Good? And Stanley, you had a question, Mechila.
Yeah, I guess I was just trying to extrapolate the concept and apply it to other areas of life, like as an example, marriage, where can you apply it for somebody if they can just find a way to be in such awe of their spouse and
Absolutely.
see the emet of the benefit, and that will trigger them to have that same kind of relationship that we're talking about with Hashem.
Absolutely. It's if you remember, I think we in Kohelet, I think it was Kohelet, no? Or maybe in the beginning, I can't say. We spoke about how, no, it was in Kohelet, about Papa, right? And the awesomeness and how people were driven to that charisma and that connection. Betach. It's, by the way, it's an obligation to develop this between a husband and wife. Until then, you're not one. You can have a wife next to you. You can have a companion, but you don't have a wife. A real wife of the Torah. The real wife of the Torah is when you look at her and you're in such love for her midot. Who was like that? Yaakov Avinu. The pasuk says, ויעקב אהב את רחל מלאה. Yaakov loved Rachel more than Leah. The Mefarshim say, what does that mean? He loved, what, because she was more beautiful? No. He was in love with her actions. Rachel's actions were so great, were so meaningful, that he was in love with Rachel just because of her actions. And then Rachel got punished for that, because she created a shadow on Leah. The pasuk says, "Vayizkor Hashem et Leah, vayifkach et Rachma, veRachel akara." Hashem remembered Leah. He opened her womb to become pregnant, and Rachel was still fertile. So the Mefarshim asked, so what does that have to do with anything? With Yaakov ahav et Rachel mileah. So the Mefarshim say that Rachel was such a big tzaddiket and so in tune with her avodah that Yaakov was in awe of her. But this impacted Leah, because now Yaakov was judgmental over Leah. Why isn't Leah like Rachel? So indirectly, the kedusha and the greatness of Rachel, right, hurt Leah. So Hashem, because of that, Hashem looked at Leah, okay, and gave her nechama. He appeased her from that void, opened her womb to become pregnant, and Rachel was punished to stay sterile.
How could she be punished for doing the right thing and for being kadosh?
If you're kadosh at the expense of someone else, it's not worth it.
Wow.
And is there a connection between Rachel and Leah and the Rachel of Leah That one is more Din and Rachel is more with the fundamentals,
sure.
or is
No, absolutely.
So what should
Rachel brought, who did Leah bring to the world?
So
Dinah.
then more maybe
Yeah.
you're
No,
Ooh.
yes. Okay?
Oof.
And Rachel, who did she bring to the world? Yosef, which is Midat HaYesod.
Wow.
Wait, what does that mean? I'm sorry, I missed the part. Explain it.
That's fundamentals.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Wait, Rob, hold on. All right, we'll leave the fundamentals on the side for a second. But I have a question.
Yes.
Hold on. So what?
Understanding she had that kedusha and she was that kind of person. How does she avoid what happened and getting punished? What could she have done?
Sensitivity. I'll give you an example. Sensitivity. You can be. I will tell you something that happened to me. Okay, happened to me. With someone that Andy introduced me to. Okay, my first time in Argentina, and Andy introduced me to a man called Eduardo Elstein. Okay, and he became like a big brother figure there to bounce ideas. A very, very clever man. Andy will testify, and a spectacular individual. Okay, a person that grew into teshuvah and became almost a shaliach of the Rebbe Milubavitch, in his own way. In his own way, he's not a shaliach, but in his own way. We could say one of the most successful men in Argentina. Can we say that, Andy? By far, right? By far. So I'll tell you, listen to this. Once Eduardo was in Israel. It was winter, and he came to visit me in the house. At night, it was maybe 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I don't remember. And my apartment in Israel was 570 square feet with no heat. Okay? And at that point, I have 2 kids, Baruch Hashem, and Yerushalayim is extremely humid. I was on the ground floor, in the winter, the floor was frozen, and the windows were really dripping drops of water inside, and in the walls. The walls, you could see drops of water in the walls, okay? With no heater. So how do you, and by the way, it was my choice. It wasn't because it was my choice. This is the way I chose to grow as a Talmid Chacham or as a Eved Hashem, okay? So he comes and he sees my wife with with a few layers, and he sees my kids with sweatpants and socks, and that's the way to go to sleep. Okay, very good. So we come, he sees, we talk, everything good. We go. Then I go to Argentina. I was going a lot, and I do shiur, Kabbalat Ka'al, I see people, and we finish at maybe 3 a.m. Okay, and I'm in his car, the Audi, the blue Audi, remember? So in his car, and I was doing Kabbalat Ka'al in one of the houses that he has for the mochileros, it's called, for the the backpackers, Israeli backpackers. So he has a hostel. He bought a house, made a beautiful hostel there for the Israelis to have food and kosher and anyways. So we finished the day. So he asked me, "How was your day?" Good. And then he asked me a question that he never asked me. He's like, "Hey, did you raise money for your kollel?" I'm talking to you maybe 11, 12 years ago. So for me, that day is like, wow, finally he asked me the question. he's gonna help me, So I said, Baruch Hashem, but that's not that. I didn't come to Argentina for that. We come for that. Okay. So I just want to tell you something. I will never give you $1. I will never support you. It's 3 a.m. I'm in his car. I think the guy loves me. I love the guy. And I get this slap on the face. And I look at it and I say, why? He said, because when I was in Israel, I saw the way your family lives. And you can be the biggest tzaddik you want, but this cannot come at the expense of your family. You go around the world and you're surrounded by billionaires. Okay? If you don't take care of your family the way that you're supposed to, I don't respect your tzidkut. You want to be a tzaddik, but don't be a tzaddik on their expense. Give them a proper apartment, give them heat, let them live a normal life. You understand? Do you understand the connection? That's exactly.
Clearly.
And that changed my life completely. So going back to what we were saying about Rachel and Leah, you can be the biggest tzaddik, the biggest tzaddikah, but when others have to pay a certain price just because you want to be at a certain level, it's not right. It's not right. Good?
I'm clear.
Very good. Okay. Now, to your original question, the answer is this awesomeness and this love and passion for your wife because of her midot, because of her purity, of her heart, of her dedication, and vice versa, right? Is the connection we look for in a couple. Okay. So now we spoke about Ishakel. Okay. Then we said, how come it's nishikot? And the definition of the word pihu. So we're going to talk about pihu, and pihu will explain nishikot. We said there's a problem because it should say or piha or piv, right? So the Gaon Mivina addresses that. The Gaon Mivina says it's not neshikot, it's not many kisses, but it's one kiss that is really made of two kisses. When a husband and wife kiss, maybe it's the husband that kisses the wife, or the wife that kisses the husband. But this is not the same thing when you have a husband and wife together kissing. Shlomo HaMelech is saying, I just don't want to kiss you, Hashem. I want to make sure that when I kiss you, you kiss me. And when you kiss me, I kiss you. What does that mean? Sometimes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us a kiss. A kiss of love. But we're too distracted, confused, insensitive to be aware of the kiss of Hashem. So he kisses me, but I didn't kiss him back. This is a neshika, but this is not a beneficial neshika. This is not a unifying neshika. It's a sign of love, but it's not love. And sometimes I'm in a high, and I want to be able to kiss Hashem, and I'm on a growth journey. I'm on a super, on a super high, but I feel like Hashem is not responding. I feel like it's not reciprocal. I think Hashem is far. I don't see the way it crystallizes itself into a bond. Shlomo HaMelech says, when I want a neshika, I want both of us to be kissing at the same time. We need osmosis. We need to be in sync with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's neshikot. Pihu, so Pihu is a little bit more intricate and a little bit more sophisticated. We have 2 mitzvot in the Torah that we received directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The mitzvah, and they are we're going to call it the parent mitzvot. They're the parent mitzvot. The first one is Anochi Hashem Elokecha. The first divera that we received from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the 10 Aseret HaDivrot. And the second is Lo Yeh Lecha Elokim Acherim. Right? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God. The first divera. The second divera, Lo Yeh Lecha Elokim Acherim. You will not have other gods. These 2 diberot are the diberot we received from Hashem directly. And each one has in it, the first one, all the mitzvot aseh of the Torah. And lo yeh lecha elokim, all the mitzvot lo ta'aseh of the Torah. So the first dibra has all the proactive mitzvot in it. And the second one have all the restrictions in it. The Gaon explains that these 2 are the aseh and lo ta'aseh are touching 2 different parts of our essence. The aseh is focused on our neshama. The Anochi Hashem Elokecha is our neshama. The Lo Yeh Lecha Elokim Acherim is the Yetzer Hara, right? The restrictions come to contain, mold, and channel the Yetzer Hara. The proactive mitzvot is the empowering and unleashing of the neshama. These two mitzvot are against 2 letters. The Anochi Hashem Elokecha represents the letter Vav. Lo Yeh Lecha Elokim Acherim represents the letter He. From the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yud Ke Vav Ke. And I'll try to explain it. I need to explain it a little bit more so that you understand. The name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yud Ke Vav Ke, is broken into 4 partsufim. Again, I'm sorry, it's becoming a little technical, but it's important. There is, in the spiritual structure of the Sefirot, we have really 5, but we're going to focus on 4 parsufim. We have the Yud that represents the Chokhmah, abundance of knowledge. The He represents the analytics of that knowledge. The Vav, sorry, I don't know what this is. The Vav represents the emotions, the Chesed, Gevurah, the Tiferet, the Netzar, the Hod, and so on. And the last He represents what is called Malchut, glory, kingdom, right? Kavod, the Kavod. If we look at the Vav represents the emotions. The emotions is the Yetzer Hara. And the He represents the Malchut, the Kavod. So one represents the emotions, and the other one represents the Malchut, the Kavod.
But you said Neshama is Vav, represented by the letter Vav.
Nachon, Mechila. Yes. And one second. I'll get to it. No, I'll get to it. So, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, that is focused on the neshama, is the avodah that needs to be done, right? So, how do you fix your? How do you infuse the chasadim? How do you infuse the Yetzer Hara with the neshama? Right? That's how you impact it. The He, right, is the Yetzer Hara, and he's the Lo Ta'aseh, the one that you need to have Gevurah. You need to have Malchut, right? You have to be Mamlich. You have to control yourself and impose a governance over the Lo Ta'aseh through the Malchut. Right, being clear? You control your emotions by the Neshama, right? And you show governance through restrictions. Okay? Now, in the Hebrew vocabulary, when you talk about somebody, about a male, you say bo, lo, right? It's a vav. When you talk about a female, ba, la, it's a he. That's a basic vocabulary. So the vav is referring to the masculine, and the he is referring to the feminine. For that specific reason, all the mitzvot aseh, right, are mostly done by who? By the men, the vav, lo. But women are responsible also for mitzvot lo ta'aseh, right? All the mitzvot lo ta'aseh is the he, la. Are you following? So when we talk about the vav, we talk about the obligation of the mitzvot aseh that are under that implicate men. However, when we talk about the lo ta'aseh, the restrictions, the women also are involved, and therefore it's a he, la. Okay. This being said, now we introduced, if you will, the two roots of mitzvot that include all the mitzvot aseh and all the mitzvot lo ta'aseh. We explain how all the mitzvot aseh are masculine, all the mitzvot lo ta'aseh are feminine. The masculinism and feminism, we addressed it in the past, represents the giver and the receiver. So the vav essentially is the giver, and the he is the receiver. For the fundamentals, who's giving? Andy, who's the giver? The Zeir Anpin, right?
Anpin to Nukva.
So the Zeir Anpin is the vav. The Nukva is the he, right? You have the giver and you have the receiver. Now back to Pihu. The Zohar HaKadosh says that the expression of the neshama, the physical expression of the neshama, is in the breath that comes comes out of the mouth. Like we say, the neshama was given to man and man started breathing. Right? When there is a kiss from the mouth, there is a connection of neshamot. There's a physical connection of neshamot. And there is a union between the he and the vav, between the husband and the wife. Through the pi. The pi brings together the neshama of the husband and the neshama of the wife. The he and the vav. Pi hu. Understanding? I know it's technical, but do you understand the level of connection? Meaning, we're taking the awesomeness, right? That translates into an emotion, and we bond our neshama together and unite the emotional reaction of the awesomeness of knowledge for each other. So you have a husband and wife that are in an emotional super high from their acknowledgement and their recognition of how amazing the other party is. And we bring that ruach, we bring those neshamot together to become one. And unite them together in order to then exchange that ruach. So now, the receiver becomes a giver, and the giver becomes a receiver. Did I lose you guys? Stanley.
I'm still stuck on a concept from 10 minutes ago, so don't go by me. You know,
So-
you said being in awe. I'm still in awe from something 10 minutes ago, so you
okay.
can't go by me.
Okay. So, and we're going to, okay. And then, okay. So basically, when there is the unity between the husband and wife from the emotional reaction of the awesomeness of what my wife is, who she is, and she feels the same way of who I am. And there's the kiss, there is a transition, right? There is a sharing of ruach, there is a sharing of soul, of neshama, okay? So me, that essentially is the giver, transmits to her the power of giving. Her, that she's the receiver, essentially transits into me the power of receiving. So I am a giver that has in me the ability to receive. She is a receiver that has in her the ability of giving. And like that, I live in her and she lives in me.
I understand.
This is the concept of pihu. This is mineshikot pihu. This is what we're craving. This is what we want. This is the level of connection we look for. When I live within my wife and my wife lives within me, from this awesomeness that we share for each other and this transmission of neshamot through the kiss, through the most powerful expression of love.
But when you say she lives within me and I live within her, it's not metaphorically.
No, it's be'emet.
It's physically we are separated, but spiritually.
Yes, her neshama is in me, and my neshama is in him. Is in her. For that specific reason, now I'm going to zoom in, and for that specific reason, when a husband and wife get married, okay, they influence each other's mazal. Sometimes we see that the husband marries a couple gets married, and the mazal of the person changes completely, for good or not, but changes completely. How is that? Because now the essence, so which means the mazal and the bracha of the wife lives within the husband, and the same thing in the other. So now we understand, practically speaking, factually how the marriage between a husband and wife can have such an impact on a person.
Okay.
Good?
Oh, this is
Great.
amazing.
Amazing.
Okay. We understood Neshikot Piru.
Rav, I love you.
So,
I need to lie down.
Me too. I need to go to. Baruch Hashem.
Bye, Andy.
Thank you. Bye.
Guys,
Bye. All the
Have a
best.
great day. Bye, Kenny.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. U'Barach.